Welcome to Podadelphia. My name is Dave DeRio. You can find me on Twitter at @fat_lobster. And I'm joined by two fans of a first place baseball team. What's up, Sarah and Gene?
Hi Dave. Hi Gene. I love that intro, Dave. I love it. I was wondering what your pop culture thing would be from the week, but we don't need it. We have actually something to be excited about here in Philadelphia sports. My name is Sarah Siders. You can find me on Twitter at Sarah Siders. You can find the show at Podadelphia.
My name is Gene Zielek. You can find me on Twitter at Producer Gene. You can find the show at Podadelphia. And I have to say, this is got to be one of the first times that in August we're having a show and the Phillies are in first place. I can't think of it. I don't think that's ever happened before in the history of the show.
Well, it's a stock up episode as opposed to previous Phillies first place episodes where we've been doing stock down. Oh my gosh, it's slipping, it's slipping, it's slipping. We're in second, we're in third. What is happening? Fire Gabe Kapler. But no, I mean, to your point, sir, I did not want to bury the lead on this one and put some nonsense up front that would delay the talk about how excited we are about the Phillies coming off of this weekend.
Could the weekend
Who wants to just
better?
emote first?
I'll go. Could the weekend have gone better? It was as good as
could have thrown a no-hitter.
Oh, okay, fine. It was a hypothetical or whatever.
Sure.
It was whatever. But it was wonderful. It was great. So often in Philadelphia sports lately, especially with the Phillies, when they have an opportunity in front of them, it is always squandered. To have this really beneficial second half schedule and to be the hottest team in baseball since July 1st, I think, just cranking out the wins, and they had an opportunity, and the Phillies have been seizing on it again and again. The Mets come into town, and they get swept. We sweep the whole damn series. It would have been enough just to win it. I would have been more than happy to take 2 out of 3, but 3 out of 3, bring it on. Yeah. It is so much fun to watch this team. It's so much fun to be excited about baseball this late in the season.
Yeah, well, coming off of the Nationals series where you sweep a 4-game series against the AAA affiliate for the Washington Nationals, and in particular the last game where it just didn't really feel like our day. It just didn't really feel like it was going to happen. And then just this, ninth inning comeback with the double from it was just the double parade, right? It was like the double from JT, then the big Rhys Hoskins double, or I may have it reversed. I'm just not remembering it correctly. And then you're just like, okay, all right, half game back, bring in the Mets. And I was like, I'm not even going to the ballpark. So I want to go. But I would get into a fight. I just know it because how these things go with the Mets in Citizens Bank Park, the Mets fans, and I just can't handle it. I just get too angry. Although I did encourage everybody last week, go to that series to keep the ticket away from a Mets fan. Gene, what was your were you could you even contain yourself going into this Mets series?
Well, I mean, there was a certain amount of, I don't want to say show me, but there was a certain amount of, I didn't want to get overly high because constant disappointment has sort of been the theme of my life. But I was honestly very cautiously optimistic. I thought if there was ever a chance where sort of to a certain degree, there was no reason not to still play loose the way they had been playing. So I was hoping that if they just sort of came in and took care of business, the Mets could not have come in colder, and they sort of stayed frigid. So that was sort of a great time to catch them. It's sort of.
Yeah, nice. I watched a lot of that. I watched a lot of that Mets Marlins series, and they are just not hitting. They just can't hit.
Can't hit a fastball. I mean, they just said it over and over and over again on the broadcast. It's a team that can't hit the fastball. If you're a Major League Baseball team that can't hit a fastball,
they said I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet from a Mets fan that said the only thing that the Mets can hit is the IL.
No.
They have got more injury problems than even the Phillies do, and the Phillies have had their share of COVID and IL and all
we're
kinds
fighting
of
all
reasons
kinds
to
of
keep
stuff right
themselves
now.
off
Yeah.
the field. But I will the other thing I sort of want to say, just sort of I don't know if it's tangentially, but like sort of in the same realm is how nice is it to be this close to a preseason Eagles game and not have to be worrying about like the depth chart of wide receivers or who's gonna, you know, who we're gonna see in the first quarter or the starter's gonna even play. I really don't care about what's gonna. I mean, like I will watch some of the game on Thursday, but there's so much happening in Philadelphia sports on Thursday. Honestly, the Eagles game might get taped and watched.
How about
midnight.
Phillies fans at Eagles open practice chanting "Let's go Phillies"?
Talk about like
Eat that, Lori.
mind turning. Talk about throwback to 08. That's the last time I remember sort of that flip that switch getting flipped.
Even then, it's that's not true. Probably more 09 that was happening a lot, but you would still hear Eagles chants in Citizens Bank Park, when the Phillies were locking up the division. So it was really something to hear it at that practice. I was honestly surprised. I mean, the atmosphere at the ballpark has been amazing. I just didn't expect it to move over to the link. So that was such a pleasant surprise. And I really hope that continues.
I think a lot of people went there for the twofer.
Oh, that makes sense.
Let's watch the open practice, drink our faces off at Xfinity Live, and then go over to the Phillies game and probably continue to drink our faces off. So let's start with Friday night. I'm just gonna skip the National Series. As fun as that was, it really just set the table for this Mets series. So Friday night we get the tribute to Dave Montgomery, which I thought was really cool. He did a lot of great things for this organization and for the city, and really put the Phillies on the map. Not necessarily with wins, but just from a culture standpoint, how to treat staff, how to treat players, how to treat retired players, and everything like that. So that was just, of all the tributes this weekend, to me, I thought that was the most important one.
It certainly was the most, I felt, truly from the Phillies culture, truly, David Montgomery was truly a Philadelphia Phillies institution. It's been one of the stranger things since he passed to sort of watch the seasons go by and not see his sort of. I mean, he was sort of the way you market as a baseball team. You know what I mean? He sort of laid out a template that you always knew what you were going to get with an interview with him and what he was going to talk about. He was bled red, through and through, and he was a big loss for the organization. He was truly, in lean times and in great times, a total constant as far as the organization is concerned. You were always
in good times and bad times.
Exactly. I'm sure he's probably sang that more than once at karaoke. Dave Montgomery was, and maybe sort of to your point, Dave, I certainly thought that he was, or what will be your point, the most Philadelphia Phillies of the tributes.
Yes. I think he was with the organization for 50 years.
Yeah.
The other tributes were with the Phillies for a combined 7, maybe. Because I think on Saturday we had Manny Trillo, who was with the Phillies for 3 years, and Roy Halladay.
What 3 years to pick? If you're going to pick 3 years to be with
the
Phillies,
yeah,
sort of
sure.
the 3 years.
Other
than
80 to
07,
82
08, 09, I can't think of a better.
Yeah. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. So Friday night we have new Philly Kyle Gibson starts the game, and if there was any doubt that Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy were part of this team now, this weekend certainly answered any of those questions for you. I mean, I can't even remember the specific insight. It was probably the 6th inning. I think Mets were threatening, and it probably struck out Pete Alonso, because I feel like Pete Alonso struck out every time he got up to the plate in that series. But just the fire, it's like, to be in this pennant race, not grown up in this organization, to be playing our arch rival at home, sold out crowds in Philadelphia, and just to feel that electricity and that playoff atmosphere, it just like seared him right into like Philly. It's like, okay, yes, you're a guy, you're a dude that is going to be all right. I can count on you. You got this. You know the drill.
Yeah, and I think it was not just the new additions, but the whole team. Even the crowd, it really went from the plugging along Phillies. We're not out of it. We're within striking distance. We had a lot of problems. So all of a sudden, this juggernaut, this team that really looks confident, is really looks bought in. And we talk about how late in the season is. It's still just the beginning of August, So to see that across the team, and especially with the new additions, and how great is it to bring people in to bolster the team and then just get immediate results, to go like, hey, our rotation, our bullpen is weak. Let's shore it up. And then they did. And to see real contributions, real results so quickly, and just get in line. And it's jumping around a bit, but the guy WIP says doesn't hit enough home runs is clearly the leader of this team. A couple years ago, he shows up, he has his fanatics, his Philly fanatic cleats on, and he's really playing into the crowd, playing into like, I'm Mr. Philadelphia through and through. But God damn it, has Harper delivered? This is his team, not just because he's the most expensive player, not just because he's the biggest name. It is his team. You can see it across the board. And, you see it in the new guys, you see it in the excitement, and you probably hear it in my excitement. I can't remember when I've been this excited about the Phillies.
So yeah, speaking of excitement, who is more excited on the Phillies than their injured player Rhys Hoskins? Just on the rail every night, every batter. I don't know how much of it he's playing into. The camera's on me when a left-handed hitter, hits a jack or not. But boy, his reactions have just been priceless. And I don't know if you saw the Phillies Twitter account tweeted something out today. It said, "Which Reese are you?" And they showed like all of his different reactions to home runs. Like, are you shook, Reese? Are you, oh my God, Reese? Are you pumped up, Reese? And it was great. I mean, he's just so excited. I can't wait for him, because I'm at this point where it's like, I am supremely confident in this team making the postseason. And, I don't believe in jinxes and crap like that. I am confident that they're going to do this. For him to experience postseason baseball, or a lot of these guys to experience postseason baseball as this team together, Nola, Wheel, like all these guys. And I'm just really, I think we're all just falling in love with this team.
Is also one of the true Philadelphia, like not born and bred, but
yeah, one
of the organization guys. Really, it's him, Nola. I'm trying to think of who. There's one other, I guess, of the
Bohm.
That really truly have come up through the system, and it's finally going to get a chance to see how it was when they were probably just kids watching the late run of the 08, 09, 10, 11 squads. The other thing about Rhys Hoskins, before we get too far off of that, as far as people that are being excited, first of all, I'm not sure who, and I don't know if we talked about this last week, but whoever the home run hat is got a lot of good mojo. I don't know if we need to credit Brad Miller or JT or just Brad Miller in general. Talk about a guy who is just a role player, but on all of if you think about all of the great teams in sort of in Philadelphia sports history, there's always that guy who isn't necessarily in the starting lineup, who sort of embodies
Okay, Archie Bradley is the originator of the home run hat.
Okay, well that's even better that it's not even a guy who actually hits.
Well, JT credits
Archie Bradley's another
Bradley.
guy brought in. Talk about finding sort of like fixing the chemistry in that clubhouse. Such a shift from when we had guys like Carlos Santana or not Carlos. Is it Carlos Santana that was the horrible smashing up TVs when they were playing video games in the locker room or something?
Yeah.
So talk about a change in direction as far as bringing in other free agents. But what is really you're beginning to see is that winning it becomes infectious, and you can see it on anytime Gene Segura. What do we call him? Lesser Gene or Greater Gene? I'm greater or lesser. Gene the lesser, Gene the greater. He is so excited when he's going around the base paths. He basically carried Sunday his bat with him almost entirely to first base when he hit that home run. And Mike Schmidt was talking about it. He says, I don't know if I've ever carried a bat that far down to first base when I was in my playing career. But yeah, I mean, literally, it's one of those things where winning is infectious. And the last time the Phillies sort of had this sort of energy was like 2007, when I think that winning culture sort of got into the bones of the organization. And maybe this is the start of the Phillies sort of catching that winning, I don't know, what do you call it? The winning fever, the winning flu? I don't know.
Well, yeah, you just have the confidence, the mentality, the expectation that you're going to go out there and you're going to succeed at the plate, or you're going to win the game, or you're never out of it. You can always come back, or the next guy is going to pick you up. Gene Segura is a great example of this because he is like a completely different player than he was 2-3 years ago under Gabe Kapler, where it was like, oh, why doesn't Gene Segura hustle? Like, do you need to bench Gene Segura? Like, what's wrong with this guy? And now, like, he's one of like the in my opinion, like the hardest playing player on the field. Like, he's sliding into first. He's laying out on ground balls. I mean, he's made some spectacular plays in the field. I mean, like, for he's not the greatest ranging second baseman in the world, but he's certainly, putting it all out there for the team. So
but he also doesn't make a lot of stupid plays at second base. You know what I mean? The same thing we used to say about, and maybe this is sacrilegious to compare him, but Chase Utley didn't have the greatest range at second base either. But everybody always credited Chase Utley with just having sort of that sixth sense of knowing what to do with what he had available. And it seems to me that Gene Segura is just making a lot of. There was a play the other day where he sort of had to hesitate and wait for, I think it was the runner to go by and then charge a ball and still make a play on it. And it looked very routine to a certain degree, but to a man, everybody who was talking on the broadcast kept saying that Gene Segura, the reason that was a great play is because of how easy he made that look. The amount of concentration and athleticism it sort of took just to make something look that routine was really great. And it's hard to find ways to complement the Phillies defense. So when they give us opportunities, we should probably take them. The shortstop, on the other hand, sometimes still leaves a lot to be desired, but thankfully he's been picking it up on the offense so that, his defense is a little less highlighted.
Yeah. And, Bohm is still having struggles defensively. Joe Girardi played the right notes tonight, although we're in a rain delay with the Dodgers. Played the right notes today to sit Bohm, to put, in favor of Ronald Torreyes in a third base, who made a spectacular play to turn double play to end the inning. I think it was in the second inning or something, in the first inning. So, and where would we be without him? And when Freddie Galvis is healthy, he's going to be the Kim Batiste to Alec Bohm's Dave Hollins.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a great reference for the kids out there. All of our young listenership will just eat that.
Know your history.
You won't regret it.
Know your history. So let's move on to Saturday night, because Saturday night was the night that my wife and my in-laws learned that I cannot pronounce Jose Avalardo's name. It's Alvarado, right? That's how you say it. Alvarado. I think I got to think of it as an actual person's name. His name is Alvarado. No, I still can't do it. Alvarado. Yeah. So I've been trying different ways to try to remember it. Like I've been thinking like avocado, Alvarado. No,
I think it's just a losing effort at this time. Although you're coming close, and I do want to really reassure people this is not a bit. It is. This happens whether we're on Podadelphia or not. Like Alvarado comes up, and like I don't even know how you mispronounce it, Dave. It's like you get the sound or like some sort of a sound.
I've been neglecting the comments here. There's some stuff in here. Tim says avocado. It's
avocado.
Like Haas Alvarado. Alvarado from Mexico. I don't even know if he's from Mexico or not.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
So, all right. So Saturday night, what happened Saturday? Ranger Suarez started that game, right?
Yeah, and I think they had him pitch almost exactly 60 pitches on the nose.
Yeah, he pitched 2 1/3, 2 2/3.
Mm.
And then I believe aliens dropped off JD Hammer to us out of nowhere. Somewhere.
Aliens who built the pyramids.
Yeah, at some time in the last 6 months, the aliens have decided to return JD Hammer as an improved pitcher. And man, he's just been terrific. You get this like
found his groove in his role, and very few guys are given that role that he's particularly slid into, because it's certainly not the marquee role. It's not the one that's going to give you a lot of wins. It's not the one that's going to get you a lot of saves. It's not even the one that's going to get you a lot of holds, if you care about that stat. But he's really sort of embraced just the whole idea of being sort of like the starting mate of Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, Tyler Perry's how JD Hammer got his groove back.
Yeah. Well, and he actually did, I think, get the wins because he was the pitcher that had the most impact on the game Saturday. I think he actually did get credited.
Did he get the win?
I think he actually did get credited with the win.
Yeah, so this thing where it's like Suarez, Hammer, Hector Neris for 2 innings seems to be working, and Hector Neris seems to be finding this home in the middle innings. He's like, oh my gosh, thank God you're not putting me in these high pressure situations so I can just maybe relax and throw. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe everyone's just feeling the winning vibes and no one wants to be the one to drop the ball. But it's working. Girardi's playing the right notes when it comes to the bullpen, at least for the last week or so.
Yeah, I want to jump in on that because it might have just been last week, if not last week, 2 weeks ago, saying that, I was afraid that Girardi wasn't pushing the right buttons. Yeah. And, well, he showed me. But it was something I was actually just thinking about while you were talking earlier of, we have Hammer and where did he come from? And just seeing this production, and greater Gene, lesser Gene Segura buying into it. So maybe the fact that we're not hearing clubhouse drama, even when the Phillies were, they were in contention, but I know at least for me, it didn't feel like it. The fan base wasn't showing up consistently. If Girardi has kept these guys bought in and ready for this moment, he deserves all the credit in the world. And his personnel decision of late, he seems to know his team. So maybe it was just get them to this point and then go from there. Real quick, Tyler Perry had nothing to do with how Stella got her groove back. And
wasn't it somebody's how Stella got her groove back?
Terry McMillan? I don't know.
I thought it was like something like somebody presents how Stella got her groove back.
Spike Lee joint.
This isn't getting any better, so maybe we should drop this. All I'm saying, if you're watching the live feed and was looking at Sarah checking out her phone the whole time, it was just going like that was before Tyler Perry went mainstream. And a good movie.
Fair enough. All right, so anything else from? Oh, we got to talk about Manny Trillo on the Wall of Fame. Thoughts?
I love the Wall of Fame. The Wall of Fame is just perfect, like, because they keep just reinforcing they just keep reinforcing that it's this punchline. I don't want it to get better. Is Danny Jackson on the Wall of Fame?
Stop.
No,
Not
is
yet.
he? I don't know, but I want him on there. I want the Phillies Wall of Fame just to be filled with guys who made the All-Star game one season. Anytime any All-Star game comes up, we talk about, how it should be for the kids and how kids should be able to stay up and watch their favorite player or go, that's my guy. That's the guy who's representing us. And I know the Phillies stink right now, but this is my guy. And Doug Glanville is an all-star. I don't care what you say. He's just as good as anybody else in this league. They need to be on that Wall of Fame. I want that Wall of Fame just to be a who's who of who's that, And I'm just so happy to see that Phillies tradition continue.
I sometimes feel like there are certain teams in Phillies history that they're just not going to be content until every member, like down to like your most utility of utility infielders, is on the Wall of Fame. There's going to be, Kevin Stocker is going to have his day. I'm trying to think of another good example from '93. Kim Baptiste is a good example of what I'm trying to get across. Are we going to get a Wes Chamberlain moment on the Wall of Fame? Are we going to go through like the sort of second best player on teams that finish last in the '90s? I think really that should just be a theme for the Wall of Fame.
Can we reinduct?
I'm just gonna
reinduct Mike Lieberthal.
No.
Can we get him up there?
He's already.
Can we get him here twice?
No. Here, I'm gonna read you the inductees. Just the last 15 or so, and you tell me if they warrant it or not, right? Okay. So Dallas Green in 2006,
Obviously,
right? Yes. Yeah. Okay. John Vukovich, 2007.
Sort of a sentimental pick, but
okay, but it makes sense because the city is sentimental about him, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Juan Samuel, 2008.
I mean, Samuel was a good player.
Yeah. Okay. Harry Kalas, obviously. Darren Dalton, obviously. So John Kruk, 2011.
Do you not think that Kruk should be on the Wall of Fame?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, 5 years. He played for us 4 or 5 years. He was an all-star a couple times.
Well, I mean, it's
you associate Kruk with any other organization?
Padres. That's the only other one that comes to mind.
Do you think of John Kruk Padre? I don't.
I mean, do you think John Kruk needs to be enshrined in a team's Wall of Fame?
Maybe not yet. If he stays in the booth and keeps up.
Yeah, I feel like now there's this real hardcore connection to John Kruk with the booth work. But okay, so then we got Mike Lieberthal.
It was the only Philly really for a decade that was worth rooting for.
It really just seems like it's not the Wall of Fame; it's like the Wall of popularity. Like who who was popular here for a couple seasons? There's a couple guys already were like, I guess kinda. I mean, I like them.
You could make a case that Mike Lieberthal is the greatest Phillies catcher of all time based on
game
play and durability and tenure alone, So okay, I'm okay with that one. Curt Schilling.
Controversially, I'm sort of not into that pick. I don't necessarily think that he should be on the.
Well, it was 2013.
I don't even mean because of his political stance. I just mean that I think that his career after the Phillies was a lot better career than what he had here. And he was my favorite player while he was here. I would purposely go up just to watch his pitch, his games he pitched and against, in years where the Phillies were just dreadful. But he just doesn't scream like Phillies Wall of Fame to me, honestly. John Kruk to me is a much better decision than Curt Schilling.
Okay. Charlie Manuel.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that was 2014. Okay. Now we start to get problematic in my mind. 2015, Pat Burrell.
No.
I mean, he was very popular.
There's many women from the Jersey Shore that would disagree with you, Gene.
I know, but just no. I mean, just he's not the Wall of Fame.
Okay. All right. 2016, Jim Thome.
Oh. That Jim Thome, everything Gene just said about Schilling, it goes double for Thome. You know, it's not even like we weren't even like where he began his career. He was
right. It's an Indian.
Yeah,
Guardian.
A Guardian.
Guardian of the Galaxy.
A Clevelander. But he was fine, likable.
Right.
You know,
right.
Took stats from Howard. I mean,
the most memorable Jim Thome thing to me is, I guess, when he hit his 400th home run and like walking around a construction site. Those are the two most memorable Jim Thome moments.
Jim Thome is an awesome baseball player and probably an even better human being. And no doubt about it, Hall of Famer, just sheer power. I mean, just a great ball player, great guy. I love him. I just don't know how much I feel like connection with Philadelphia, because like you're right, Sarah, like that was this thing. Like it's like, oh my God, we signed Thome and all he's doing is clogging up the way for Ryan Howard, who doesn't even come into the league until he's 26. Like how many, like could Ryan Howard be a 500 home run hitter if he were here 2 years earlier or 3 years earlier, whatever it could have been. I don't know.
Typically I really don't like hypotheticals like that of like, oh, well, you never know what's going to happen. But I mean, the wear and tear on your body playing baseball in the big leagues versus playing baseball in the minor leagues is not really that different. It's not like, oh, you get hit harder in the big leagues, like, it's not like other sports. There's no combat. there's no contact. There's no collision. There's nothing like that. But so there, I really do think like you can just pad those numbers. Maybe he's not an all-time great, but he gets a lot closer if he's up with the big organization sooner.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking up Ryan Howard's career home. I don't know them off the top of my head. 382. So he certainly would have been over 400.
Oh yeah, he might be closer to 450 though.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising to see like Ryan Howard prolonging his career of, just with DH spots, in the AL, trying to boost those numbers if he got a head start earlier. I mean, not that I'm advocating for that because nobody likes to see that of the, Ryan Howard really should have hung him up earlier. So, but he could have. It really, Thome being here.
But if he's like chugging for 500, you're going to be like, yes, keep him.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the 2017 was the year that we were going to induct Pete Rose. And then all the stuff happened and they said, okay, no Hall of Fame this year.
Good call. Good call.
Okay. So the one time they make the correct decision with the Hall of Fame. Pat Gillick, 2018.
Yeah.
Pat Gillick and Roy Halladay. So two short timers. Bobby Abreu in 2019, no one in 2020, and then Manny Trillo in 2021, who played 3 years with the Phillies. So I don't know where you go from here, to be honest. You're going to have to do Jimmy Rollins.
Well, I think we're getting very, very close to opening up. You're going to do your Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard.
They're going to do them all at once, right?
Cole Hamels.
They're going to water it down and do them all at once.
You should, but they're not going to. They're going to bleed this thing for.
No. I think they should give each person their own individual. Their own individual. All right, whatever.
But do you think that they would do it all the same year, or do you think it's going to be like year?
Yeah, I think they'll do it all the same year. I think they'll just do it 3 separate nights within the same year. If they do it all at once, it's going to be an awesome night. Like if they do them all at once, you're going to have to go to that game.
Yeah, I would. I think that would be great if you were going to put in the 08 squad, together.
Yeah. That's the if you put them all together, then you could say, you got to buy a partial season ticket plan. You get this game, or you got to buy a season ticket plan to guarantee yourself ticket. Yeah, people would go nuts for that kind of stuff.
What a Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley night would be epic.
Oh, it would. It would.
I think it'll come later since he's still playing, but I think you can put in.
But I got to say, like, as much as I'm like, I don't know, Manny Trillo is like a little kind of like a fringe guy for me. Like I said, I was down the shore and I was with my in-laws and they had their friends there. And I was like, so what's Manny Trillo mean to you guys? And they were just like, love Manny Trillo. Like, Manny Trillo was awesome. Like, you know, so in the same way that some of those 3 or 4 year players for us were such, you know, so impactful. I guess like how long was Jason Worth with the Phillies?
I think like 5 years.
Yeah, like he's like a Wall of Fame guy, right?
I think he's like 06 to like 09 or 10.
I don't know. Wall of Fame?
Worth left like a really bad taste when he went to the Nationals. I don't know. He's sort of got like a little bit of a hex on him.
Well, I mean, I don't think you can really begrudge the guy for, you know, getting paid.
I don't. I'm just saying that like there was sort of a dark cloud that sort of sat over the Jason Worth thing. Yeah,
Jason Worth was with the Phillies for 4 years. He was actually with Washington for much longer than he was with the Phillies.
He was never really good with Washington, though.
I mean,
he
had 300 a couple years, you know, whatever. But like to me, I feel like, you know, if he gets into the Wall of Fame, which I think he probably will at some point down the road, they're going to just be like everyone from that team. I mean, Pat Burrell's in there for crying out loud.
Victorino is definitely going to go in.
Yeah, like, you know, Victorino, how long did he play for the Phillies? Like, not really that long. You know, is Hunter Pence going to go on the Wall of Fame?
That would be the line. That would be
but
the line.
I can see my son
Matt
being.
Stairs is the line. I think Matt Stairs is the line.
No, stop, Matt Stairs. No, Matt Stairs. They can't do that, right? I could just see my son being like Jason Worth. You know, kind of like that's a little fringe. Don't you think, Dad? And I would be like, no. Jason Worth was awesome. Like he was really important. We would have never won the World Series and stuff without him.
Although I would argue that Raul Ibanez might have been more important in 09.
Yeah, they didn't win the World Series, though. What do you think of Chooch? Tim's asking about Chooch. What do you think of Chooch?
Oh, Chooch, I think, is a lock. I think Chooch is...
Man, people love Chooch.
Well, not only do the fans love him, the team loved him. And all the success we had with, you know, the rotation and the bullpen and just our pitchers, they credit so much to Chooch. And, you know, Halladay's time in Philly was short, but we've retired his number. He's on the Wall of Fame. He's beloved by the city and the organization, and he loved Chooch. You know, we talked
Doc
about
said, you can't put me on any wall until you bring Chooch with me, unless I can bring Chooch with me.
Yeah, and he's fundamental to this organization. He really sort of kept watch over the pitching squad throughout all of that success, hung around after that success. You know, I think he has the tenure. I think he has the number. I think he has the heart of the fan base and the organization. I think Chooch is a slam dunk.
You know, I think with as much as this organization has trouble identifying talent, catcher is the one position that I think that they really understand, because by hook or by crook, we wind up getting a quality backstop pretty consistently. If you look back to like Boone and Lieberthal and Dalton and Chooch, and I mean, obviously you went out and you got JT, but you know, you got to do what you got to do, right? And now we have Marchand coming up in the minors, who, you know, potentially could get us a piece that would put us over the hump if, you know, he turns out to be what everyone thinks he's going to be, which doesn't always work out with this organization. But so Saturday night is the Lavera night. Is it Lavera or is it Yovera? Lavera, right?
I'll defer to you on that one, Dave.
We're just going to say Lavera. Starts the ninth inning. We're up 5-0. And then proceeds to throw up 3 consecutive cupcakes to bring the game to 5-3. And, you know, in Joe Girardi's defense, he wanted to take him out after the second home run, but the 3-batter rule prevented that and awarded the Mets with an extra run before Kennedy came in. So, like, no more of him, right? Like, we can't pitch, right?
He was probably promptly put on a bus.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thanks, kid.
And then the bus hit a home run.
But that gives us the Ian Kennedy moment of the weekend, where just comes in with 93 miles per hour of piss and vinegar, and just blows these untouchable fastballs by the middle of the Mets order. They just can't touch them, and they strike out, and you get like the fire Ian Kennedy moment that I put as the thumbnail for this episode. That just made me go like, right, yes, you're another dude. Like, we got two dudes for a dude who wasn't a dude.
Right. And we may have gotten a third dude that's in the minors from everything we're hearing.
Yeah, we got two solid dudes and a crazy dude.
Yeah. No, that was a great moment, and that's one of those things that helps build that confidence. We could have said like, all right, the Phils had an excellent run. They had with 6 wins in a row at that time. If we had blown that game, it wouldn't have been. It would have hurt. It definitely would have hurt to blow a 5-run lead in the 9th, but it wouldn't have been the end of the world. We had enough, good faith build up, enough positive energy build up that I don't think it would derail this team. But now you've banked more. You've banked more confidence. You've banked, we have people we can rely upon that when things start to look dicey. And it's not, the Mets couldn't hit a fastball, but they were hitting then. They hit 3 home runs in a row. Their first place was theirs to take back with the win there. So that's, I don't think you can overstate just how clutch Kennedy was to come in and to shut it down, get the win, and to do so in fairly commanding fashion.
Yeah, and so let's move on to Sunday, because Sunday was Roy Halladay number retirement night, which okay, we're going to retire 34, and that's okay, I'm guessing, with everyone.
Well, I think we talked about it before.
Yeah, sure.
And I've come to terms with it, because I think, he did pass away at a young age. He was really electric for the time he was here, and he was very popular here. In a vacuum, I don't think it makes much sense. I equate him so much to Chris Pronger. Chris Pronger came in, lived up to the expectations, got the Flyers like almost by himself to the Stanley Cup final, and then injuries took him out. But and he went to the Hockey Hall of Fame. That's the criteria to get your number retired for the Flyers in almost every occasion, for almost all the numbers they've retired except one. And he goes, okay, that's really a parallel here. And it would be so odd if Pronger had his number retired by the Flyers. It doesn't make much sense. Give me a Chris Pronger night. I will happily go to a Chris Pronger night. But even the Flyers Hall of Fame, that would seem a bit of a stretch to put Pronger in there. And I love Chris Pronger. He was one of my favorite players outside the Flyers to come to the Flyers and then like really succeed, really do well. And I think Halladay is so similar to that. But I've made my peace with the recognition. It makes a lot of people happy. I think it's a bit odd. I think it's, especially that, like, I love the way the Phillies do the number retirement with the big number statue that's easy to pose with, and you can walk by and talk history and get photos of yourself, your kids, whatever. And it just kind of seems like, look at the great history of the Philadelphia Phillies, and there's Roy Halladay, and what did Halladay do? He had some really impressive games. And
I honestly think if that perfect game and the no-hitter were both one-hitters, this wouldn't be happening.
I think you're right.
In my opinion. I mean, the Phillies have 2 perfect games in their history. The other one's Jim Bunning, who is obviously also in the Hall of Fame and has his number retired. And the other one is Roy Halladay. And the postseason no-hitter is even like more fuel to the like, let's embrace Roy Halladay as a Philly more, because his most amazing feats have happened in a Phillies uniform. So,
and I'll tell you, I think that no-hitter in the postseason is like, that's one of those rarefied, even though it's not a perfect. I mean, his perfect game was against Florida. But you do that to a playoff team,
Gene just shat on a perfect game.
I'm more shitting on the Marlins, but
I know, but like, dude, you can't diminish an accomplishment of a perfect game. And Marlins play a lot of games, dude.
You're right.
I have a one hitter against the Marlins.
World Series is against Tampa.
Hey, but at least Tampa was good enough to make the World Series that year.
No,
but I think the thing that sort of swung me around on the Doc thing was, I was talking to somebody, and honest to God, I can't even give this person credit because I don't remember who it was. But they said part of the reason why this relationship between the Phillies and Doc exists is because it was sort of coming from both sides. Doc Halladay loved being a Philly as much as the Phillies loved having him. I think if you had a different relationship between the player and the organization, you might not have this same sort of reaction. Doc was a great Blue Jay, and I think that his family also has a very good relationship with Toronto, but there was something sort of unique about their time in Philadelphia. And I think had Halladay lived, that you would have found that he sort of stayed a fixture and was sort of already like doing some guest coaching in the Phillies organization. Yeah. I think you would have found that had he lived a longer life and had sort of a second career in baseball, which I think just the way the guy talked, you just had the vibe that he was going to be a pitching coach, a manager someday. He just lived and breathed baseball. And I think that when I sort of got the understanding that this is sort of a way to honor his embrace of the organization as much as the organization embraced him, sort of swung me a little bit around on, getting why the Phillies feel the need to really lift Halladay up, because I think that there's no other way sort of to honor him right now other than to sort of give him these posthumous, moments, because you can't put him on the back of the truck and drive him around for Wall of Fame Day. He didn't make it. So, because I think equally as far as talent is concerned, I think sort of, he doesn't have necessarily the same great game resume, but Cliff Lee was equally important in his time with the Phillies. And Cliff Lee pitched for the Phillies in the World Series and had some incredible moments in that run for a team that almost won another championship. So I think that
that's kind of an interesting one. Cliff Lee Wall of Fame.
I think that there's a lot of, I think that if you're going to put Roy Halladay on there, you certainly can make a case for Cliff Lee. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll be honest. I don't think it's going to happen.
What happens first, Cliff Lee or Joe Blanton?
Together. What's that?
I said, what happens first, Cliff Lee or Joe Blanton?
Joe Blanton hit a home run in a World Series game, so
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Not a lot of Phillies can say that.
Joe Blanton's got a ring. But yeah, I love Cliff Lee. I was a bigger Cliff Lee guy. I'm still never going to forgive Ruben Amaro for trading Cliff Lee to restock the cupboard, which I think, if you can't hear the air quotes in my voice, if there was ever a way to take the wind out of getting Roy Halladay, it was trading Cliff Lee. The fact that we lost those years where they could have been together longer, I think honestly it cost us another ring.
So after the number retirement ceremonies, Zach Wheeler then goes out and pitches a 2-hit complete game shutout, just thoroughly rubbing in the embarrassment to the New York Mets, who come away this weekend completely empty-handed. He goes on to retire. He gives up a double or a hit in the first batter, and then proceeds to retire 22 straight hitters, the most since Roy Halladay's postseason no-hitter. and to hear Joe Girardi talk about it, saying, he had Roy's hand on him and everything, and he was getting Joe Girardi was getting emotional about it, and I mean, I don't know, like this kind of made me turn around on the whole Roy Halladay thing, to be honest.
I enjoyed the day as much as I have criticized the over-adulation of Halladay's time in Philly. I really enjoyed the day. Some people were like going like, "Oh, it was clear Doc was guiding Wheeler out there." I'm like, okay, like I like the symbolism.
It's like angels in the outfield.
Yeah, but also it takes away from the guy who just struck out, who retired 22 in a row and let up 2 hits.
11 strikeouts, yeah.
Yeah, like, well, that was all Doc. And like Wheeler's like, well, thanks. Like, is that a posthumous number for him? But it was a wonderful day. I mean, I was walking on air in that day. The weather was nice. I played with my kids a ton outside, which means an easy bedtime. And I had the game on the TV, was listening to the game, and just really got to enjoy the dominance there. And it was nice to hear, what a great pitching performance on a day when we're celebrating great pitching performances. Right. I just want to take a moment to talk about Doc in a little more reverential, where I'm not playing devil's advocate, where I'm not saying this is the reason maybe we should hold back. But that perfect game, I've said it on the show before, very few people, maybe no one has come to Philadelphia as a free agent and immediately lived up to the hype. He came, he was promised to be the best pitcher in baseball, and he came here and looked like the best pitcher in baseball. And to have the perfect game followed by the playoff no-hitter, and the playoff no-hitter was more special because, well, it was in the playoffs, but it wasn't opposite the Stanley Cup final. Everyone was, at least everyone I knew was watching the Flyers play the Blackhawks, and then there was rumbling. It's like, oh, we got to get the Phillies game on. I'm like, it's the Stanley Cup. It's like, we have to put the Phillies game on, and like nobody telling me why, because nobody wanted to say it out loud, and then just picking it back up, just picking it back up and just feeling that momentum and having this really great moment in a great sports year, and then to be followed by the playoff no-hitter that kind of felt like, at least to me, it felt like a make good to me. I was paying all of my attention to the Stanley Cup final. I certainly watched him complete that perfect game, but now here's something I'm watching every pitch. I am watching every pitch of that game. And to the point I'm like, hey, 2 up, 2 down, 3 up, 3 down, 4 up, 4 down. And then like the existential crisis when I was at 5 up, 5 down. And I'm like, do I keep saying it? Like, which is the more important jinx? I did shut up at that point. Mostly because I was at a bar and I was getting looks to tell me to shut up, and I did. But it was a great game and just really bookended a pretty magical season for Doc. So I really do appreciate that, and it really was fun on Sunday to just relive, to celebrate Doc and just enjoy it.
Yeah, and let's we got about 8 minutes left in the show. Phillies are down 1-0. Corey Seager just hit a home run off JD Hammer. Again, thanks, aliens. Let's skip the penalty box. Let's do a penalty box tonight, but let's just talk about the 97.5 Fanatic penalty box with our last few minutes here, because this is just ripe. It's just ripe for discussion. And we'll start with Tyrone Johnson, who I normally like, and I thought for a time that he was maybe going to be the future of Phillies sports talk radio, and maybe they were grooming him as the heir apparent for Mike Missinelli, but he goes to the Eagles open practice this weekend, and sounds like he has some sort of altercation with a member of the Eagles security team, and then tweets this. Sierra, who works for the Eagle security, is the stupidest human I have ever met. Stupid and bad at her job. If you see Sierra, and I hope you don't, remind her how stupid she is. Sarah, why don't you go ahead and explain why this is absolutely disgusting tweet?
Yeah, it's reprehensible. And I'm using that in every sense of the word. And I was a fan of the guy too. I'm now blocked by that guy, and so are many of the people listening to this, I imagine. But he has a pulpit. I've said so many times that even I'm sick of hearing me saying it. When you have a platform, you have a responsibility to use it responsibly, and to name someone, to call out Sierra by name. And you might not feel like that's a big deal, but her name was all over Twitter. And yeah, Twitter, we can get a lot of navel gazing and feels more important than it is, but people see that, and thousands, tens of thousands, I think it's like 30,000 people follow the guy. And he is not only listing her by name, he is asking people to call her stupid. And we're not in grade school. We're not children. We get called worse things than stupid. But when you ask someone to target someone, that's fucked up. Lack of a better phrase, that is fucked up. Because you only need 2 or 3 people to make things go from inconvenient, impolite to tragic.
Yeah,
because
dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, because imagine just a few people wanted to call her stupid. Imagine if this tweet didn't completely blow up in his face. Imagine if people took his side. And, his wife, who did seem to be the root of the altercation over not knowing the freaking handbag rules at the stadium. Yes, they're inconvenient, but it's everywhere. They've been everywhere for years. It's on your damn ticket.
Well, we certainly don't know everything that happened. I mean,
but she did attempt to defend herself, and it was all over not knowing the handbag rules. And
there's definitely something with a handbag and being able to get into the game. We don't know how it was handled or what escalated after that, or who was responsible for the escalation. We certainly don't know any of that. But regardless of what happened there, this tweet is irresponsible.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
And
it
also,
is literally dangerous.
What made it even kind of like more gross was that people were like, well, what happened? Right? Like, that's the next obvious question, right? Is to say like, hey, Ty, well, what happened? And he goes, listen to the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that makes it kind of feel like really sleazy. And then the downstream effect of this was like, the entire community got on his case about this, rightfully so. Yep. He blocked just about anyone that called him out on it. And his wife had to delete her Twitter account.
Yeah.
And he actually went on the air yesterday and issued an apology for it and then didn't talk about it. So, my question to him is, are you going to unblock all those people that correctly called you out on it, which you now recognize as being wrong? Like, no one, like, I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, and I'll let you hop in a second, but I doubt he realizes what was wrong. It didn't go. Do you think for one moment, if this took off and everyone said, you're right, she's wrong, I can't believe whatever happened, I can't wait to listen to your show to find out what happened, do you think he would have changed his mind in the cold light of day? No. And
I'm pretty sure probably the station made him recant and
I'm
apologize.
sure. I'm sure.
It didn't look like he wanted to on the show, if you watch the clip. Gene, any thoughts on this, or do you want to move on?
I guess maybe I'll take like the long view, and there's a lot of this whole thing that felt very much like, don't you know who I am? Like, don't you realize who I am? Like, you do realize who I am. I am very important. So obviously, because
I do word of the day.
it just felt so much like, you are not that far removed from like those of us that are just the other fans in line going into the stadium. Like you're not that famous. Like you're not that big of a deal, guy.
I think somebody said. I think I saw somebody say something like, "Do you know who I am? Oh, I could put my pajamas on and sit in a poorly lit room in front of a laptop and talk about the Sixers if that's if that'll help jog your memory a little."
I mean, to some degrees, like we are one step removed from that. We're one notch below that level of Philadelphia media. You know what I mean? Like. And do I go into places and be like, oh, where is my excellent, superior service to the rest of humanity? It just, directly to Sarah's point, like you have some semblance of a pulpit. Like you have the ability to reach people. And if you can't take the 10 seconds that it takes to like be like, will this actually make a difference, positive difference? It'll make a difference. Will this actually make a positive difference in anyone's life if I say this? Or is it literally just going to be some sort of rage vent that that there is literally no good that could come from it? And he got to see that there was literally no good that came from his inability to evaluate whether or not I should say what I said. Too many people who have these fan bases, you know what I mean? But is it so much that people were a fan of Ty as they were a fan of sort of what he was beginning to represent? Sort of like maybe the guy that could be a not only just a replacement for what we have in Philadelphia Talk Radio, but like a true difference in what we have in Philadelphia Talk Radio.
Yeah.
Like a difference in every sense of the word, like a true different direction for the way that things are going. I think a lot of people really want that to happen. And when somebody like that behaves in a way that could be described as Cataldi-esque or Missinelli-esque, you sort of get disappointed. Because if you had told me that Angelo Cataldi had sent out this exact same tweet, I would not have been surprised. I could see him calling someone by name on Twitter.
Nah. Angelo's crafty. I mean, he's slippery. He knows what he's doing.
He'd make somebody up.
Yeah,
he'd make somebody up.
Ty
and he would probably say like, you need to boo her. He wouldn't say call her stupid, but you should go and boo her.
Yeah, I just think he's too smart for that to fall into that trap, and he's since deleted his Twitter account anyway. But I feel like this is a potential, like Ty's Twitter is potentially like a career killer for him, because every sports fan in Philadelphia has either been blocked by Tyrone Johnson or knows somebody that has been blocked by Tyrone Johnson for something that's probably, well, not in all cases, but in some cases, like pretty innocuous. Just like, hey man, like I got to ask you, I got to push back on you on this. And you got to have some level of thicker skin in this town to be in the spotlight like that. And speaking of thicker skin in this town, she's no longer with the station anymore, but Natalie Eganoff also stepped in it on the very same night. And it kind of all started with this tweet. That first place feeling on a Sunday, and some like rocking some Phillies gear. But what people really called out was the weeds on the side of the street, right? This is what everyone was upset about. Like, hey, if you look at the comments on this tweet, it's like, hey, Natalie, like, mow your quote unquote lawn, or like, get the weed whacker, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And
it's funny.
It is funny, but
she essentially took a selfie in her bathroom and the toilet was in the shower, but go on. I heard things about weeds, but I never saw that tweet until right now. So,
all right. So there was like a million comments. They're all about the weeds. So she was basically very defensive. It's like, it's not my sidewalk. Like, talk to Mayor Kenny about the weeds if you got a problem with the weeds, or like whatever. And then she subsequently tweeted, which has long since been deleted, something to the effect, I tried to find it, but it's something to the effect of like, you live 20 miles outside of the city and you call yourself a Philly sports fan.
Yeah, and
so she's attacking the suburbs, people who are attacking her,
which is
sidewalk weeds.
Almost all of the Philadelphia sports fans.
Right. And like, you know, who do you think listened to your show for all those years? How many of your followers do you think live inside the city versus outside of the city, or listen to your podcast, or, you know, whatever other future endeavor you're going to do? Rely on those of us that live, you know, newsflash, no one on this podcast lives inside Philadelphia. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if that's damaging our brand or not, but it's the truth.
And that never did. Like, we all grew up 20 miles outside of Philadelphia.
At least.
I'm closer. Well,
you were the closest.
I am closer. I'm closer than 20 miles, so I think I have an opinion. Okay. But
I'm closer than 10 right now. I mean, is that fair?
Oh, I have to get a map.
Dude,
see how close I am. But
I jog to City Line, so.
Well, yeah, you are definitely closer than I am. But it's so defensive and dumb, and it wasn't even like a suburban versus a city kind of thing. You know, it's like, oh, you know, talk to the mayor over the sidewalk. I mean, that unless she is renting from Mayor Kenny, like it's still the homeowner's problem.
Well,
like,
I mean, the weeds are like neither here nor there. It just turned into like a gatekeeping conversation, which is where it turns really funny, which I hate. I hate when people say they can't be a fan.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be a fan. You weren't here then. You can't be a fan because you can't name the shortstop that took over for Jimmy Rollins. You can't be a fan because of, I don't know. But like, to say you grew up in a Philly suburb, you can't be a fan.
And which is just like, if you like baseball at all, whether you live 20 miles outside the city or, I don't know, 50, 60, like, well, depending on what direction you go, but you can live well outside the city and you're getting Phillies games. Like, they are your team. And don't we all want that, you know? And then it was one of these comments, her like follow-up. It's like, no, I wasn't saying like you're not real fans. I just sick of people who like go to the city for things, but then drag it. I've seen this logic so many times that there's people are really hard in the city, but they want to get all of its benefits. And I really don't think, like, I haven't been invited to the suburban meetings where we sit around and make fun of Philadelphia. You know, I mean, I've grown up here. It's always been an extension.
I'll give you the Zoom link.
Yeah. Oh, good. It's just always
all virtual now.
Well, thank you. And that's
we want to
because
be safe.
We do. But it's our city. Like, it's not our city. It's not like we don't live within the city limits, but everything radiates out from Philadelphia, and we are in that radiation zone, which makes it sound like a nuclear accident.
Definitely
and sometimes
worse.
it feels that way. But if there was a nuclear strike on Philadelphia right now, all three of us would be screwed. Not
Absolutely.
as
It'd be the worst because we wouldn't be in like the vaporization zone. We'd be in that like radiation zone.
So think of that. Who's the real Philadelphians after nuclear war? Is it you? You'll be dead.
We'll be left to rebuild, although I'll be bleeding out of my eyes. Okay.
Yeah, the radiation, the mutants, and we'll have to defeat the mutants from New York. So we will carry on your legacy.
And they'll be uglier.
All right, that is all the time we have for today. We've certainly run over. We'll be back next Tuesday where we'll be talking about Mega Thursday, right? Gene, you alluded to it. We got the Covfefe semifinals with the Union. We got Phillies action that night against the Reds. We got Eagles preseason against the Steelers, and we have there was one more thing, wasn't there?
That's what I have on my list.
Union, Phillies, Eagles. What else would there be?
Oh, no. The Field of Dreams game.
Right.
is also that night. So get your clicker ready. Does anybody call it a clicker anymore? Get your clicker.
Just my dad.
Get your clicker ready because it's going to get a workout. I'll tape them. Don't worry, it's fine. All right, so we'll be back next Tuesday. If you haven't done so already, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search Podadelphia. If you have any more time in your podcast listening today, be sure to check out the Whip Around for all the week's weird news. And also check out the Painted Lines. Oh, and Saturday night, I'm going to be on the Painted Lines animation movie draft. So you can come watch me select animated movies, which I'm very passionate about. Compile a team of the best animated movies. So that should be fun.
Twitter and make the right
Saturday. Yeah, vote for me. Vote for Dave. A vote for Dave is a vote for freedom. All right, so we'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great day, everybody. We are out of here.